Alright, here's my Blade 300 CFX after a rebuild from a crash, and did some upgrades to it as well. So I'm going to go over the upgrades first, and then I'll get into the crash details. So here is the canopy from Blades, fiberglass canopy. The 300X canopy, but it fits with a very minimal modification. I just had to drill, or took my body reamer, made a new hole, and got a new canopy grommet. Left the other kind of canopy grommet in the holes that were already done because I took them out and it doesn't look good with that bare hole there, so I just put those back in there and it just looks better. I don't like the bare hole. Just not very attractive. So hopefully Blade will come out with the 300 CFX. That's a direct fit for it. But till now, the 300X will fit. You just have to make a new hole, line it up, and put another. You can either use the canopy grommet that came with the canopy, or you can use the ones from the stock canopy, which I did, and put them in the new holes. Whatever you want to do. So it's a real sharp looking canopy. The lighting here doesn't do it justice, but it's a real nice red. This looks pinkish, but it's a real nice red with orange and yellow stripes here, and up in here orange and yellow stripes, and just a really sharp canopy. And really in the sun it just really pops out, and you can really see the heli really well. So I had that canopy on before I had the crash, and it didn't put a mark on it. The crash didn't put a mark on it. So I'm going to take that canopy off now. We kind of get into the other upgrades I've done to the helicopter. Alright, other upgrades I've done are, because of the crash I had to, but I got 3 brand new Hitec digital metal gear servos right there. And not because of the crash, because I wanted to. I installed the Lynx auto rotation hub. I did have to modify that nut in there. I had to shave a little bit off with my Dremel, just so it wouldn't rub on the mounts there. These mounts right here, it would rub it underneath, and I was getting some rubbing, which would have led to vibration, which would have led to a crash and just all around bad news. So I had to, Dremel a little bit off that nut, and perfectly fine now. And I got the Lynx tail servo mounts right there. They just look for bling, a little added extra strength. Nothing you have to do, but I chose to install those. And the real nice feature here is this Lynx tail assembly. I ordered the entire tail assembly, put it together, and then installed it on the heli. And of course you want to use blue Loctite on all these screws when you're dealing with aluminum. Onto aluminum, and you're blue Loctite. Nice Lynx etching on there. Nice sharp etching. Of course, you got the aluminum tail box, and like a belt tensioner right there. And you got the I believe it's a brass and steel pitch slider there. This is brass, and in here is steel. Guess that's supposed to be stronger. I don't know. We'll find out. Because the one from Blade is all aluminum and steel, so I don't know. We'll see. And pitch slider lever, aluminum, of course. Aluminum blade grips. And nice red anodized aluminum pulley there, mounted to the Lynx T-shaft. I think that's everything on the tail there. a real sharp looking tail now. Oh yeah, compared to the blade, tail assembly setup, especially on the pitch lever here, you have this screw that goes through the bearing block here on the pitch lever, and underneath you don't have a nut, you don't have dual locking position. Just put some Loctite in there and it's good. I think it's better anyway. I don't know, it's kind of a pain because with a nut under there, it's clamping in two positions, and I think you got a little too much tension there. So this has actually made it a lot easier to make sure I had minimal tension with plenty of movement. So it made it easier to set up that. So I don't know, personal preference, I guess, but they went with that setup on that tail assembly. So anyway, now with the crash, I'll go into that. And of course, I ordered 3 new servos because I destroyed the stock servos because they're plastic. Stock servos have plastic gears in them, so these Hitec servos are really nice. Like I said, digital metal gear, Hitec servos. And the only bummer is the stock servos had these nice aluminum horns. Well, I had to use the plastic ones that came with these Hitec servos because the aluminum servo horns wouldn't fit on these servos. So, oh well, it's not that big a deal. Just add a nice little bling factor to the heli, but not a big deal. And I also did add these canopy, aluminum canopy mounts as well. It adds a little more strength, a little more rigidity to the canopy. So those are always nice. And so with the crash damage, I had to, of course, I had to replace the main gear. That was all stripped out. Main shaft and the feathering shaft had to be replaced. Of course, the feathering shaft goes through the head and out, each blade grip. So that was bent, and the feathering shaft was fairly easy to get out. Now the main shaft, it was bent at the bottom, and it was a bit of a pain. I had to remove both of these blocks, remove the servos, both of these bearing mounts here, where really they're servo mounts. They are servos mounted, and they mount to the frame. One up here with a bearing there and a bearing down below. So I had to remove the whole head assembly, remove that nut. Pretty much when I pulled it out, it was stuck in between both of these mounts here. So I had to remove these screws and take both mounts out and put it in the vise very carefully. And eventually I did get it out. It was a bit of a pain, but I did get it apart without damaging these mounts, which is nice. I didn't really want to have to buy new mounts if I didn't have to. Just took my time and just figured it out. And with the servos, I also had to remove the B-stacks because you can't get to this, this servo back here without removing it. Because underneath the servo tape is a carbon fiber plate with screws on top. So, and the screws, of course, are underneath this tape, so the tape has to come up so you can get to the screws. So, once I did that, got put the new servo on. And of course, you also have to do it because these wires will not route through here without taking this off, because this connector is just a little bit too big to get through that small hole. That very small hole you see where the wires are going through there. So basically, it was almost a complete build. So pretty much had to take it all apart to rebuild it, due to the servos being destroyed and having difficulty getting things apart. So basically had the entire head apart, gears, basically all the frame was still together and the motor was in there. And, oh, I bent the tail boom too, so it needed a new tail boom, so that all had to be rebuilt. Everything lined up. So basically, when I had it all apart, the landing gear was on, the ESC was still mounted in there, the motor was mounted. I mean, this here, the battery mount was there. Everything else was off and apart. So it was all practically an entire build there, but it's all right. And now I know how the hell it goes together, so it's not a bad thing. So, overall pretty sharp looking. I still need to do a maiden. I did make sure that when I was rebuilding it and set up the electronics, like with the servos, I made sure that all my servos were centered through the B-stacks. So once they were centered, then I leveled my swash plate with a swash plate leveling tool from Lynx Heli. And then I set my blade pitch. Once I got that all set up, then I checked my blade tracking. The blade tracking looks pretty good, just a little bit off. Made a small adjustment. It looks pretty good, so just need to do a test flight. So that will come as soon as the rain. We've got some rain right now, and the winds are kind of high. There's one more thing I wanted to go over, and that was the cause of my crash, which is when I upgraded to the blade aluminum tail box. I kept that stock plastic pulley in there. This is, of course, the aluminum upgraded pulley that's in there now. But when I originally put it together and did the upgrade to this box, when it was on the heli before the crash, I used the stock plastic pulley, which was not a good idea because there was an awful lot of play. Not a lot of play, but enough to give me concern. But I thought, it'll be all right. It's not that much play. And I flew it, and I had a little bit of vibration, and it was kind of annoying. So I was tinkering with it. I found some spacers from another heli to put them in there with that stock plastic pulley, and they weren't the right kind of spacers, and they just didn't work right. So I pulled them back out and went back to just, no spacers in there. And there was more play, of course, and then, that last time I flew it with that stock plastic pulley in there with all that play, there just seemed to be a ton of vibration. It was just yeah, there was a lot of vibration. And I thought maybe flipping it and idle up would help it to settle down, but no, it just immediately pitched to the right like that and just was going, and it just wasn't responding. I think the vibration just caused the B-stacks to just get confused, and it just went to the right and tried to compensate, and it just wasn't happening. And I don't know if I just wasn't fast enough or I had dumb thumbs or what, but basically I just kept going, and I hit throttle hold and let it go into the ground, and like I said before, it bent the main shaft, feathering shaft, chewed the gear up, and it destroyed my stock servos, so stripped them right out. So I didn't even mess the blades up at all, like scuffed them up just a little bit on the tips, barely. You can't even notice that it scuffed them up at all, and not a scratch on the canopy. Not a scratch on the canopy at all. So go figure that one out. I'm not complaining. Not complaining one bit. Not a scratch on it. It went into the grass, which was, I guess, fortunate. Didn't hit the asphalt. The asphalt wasn't that far away. It was only a few feet away. Got lucky, I think. If you can call that lucky. But anyway, so I got a whole entire spare tail assembly now, because with this, when I ordered my parts, I decided I would order this aluminum pulley, and it fits perfectly. There's no play in that thing at all. At all. So I got a spare tail assembly. But the Lynx Heli tail assembly looks so cool, I just had to have it. So, because I still have all the plastic blade stuff on there right now, like the blade grips, pitch slider, and pitch slider lever. That's all plastic, but it's fine. I mean, there's no nothing wrong with it. It still works fine. There's no play in it. It's not worn out. So I mean, if I need it, I don't know if I will or not, but I have a spare tail assembly. So that is my Blade 300 CFX after the rebuild and some upgrades. And of course this is the Blade 300X aluminum carrying case, storage case that I got when I bought the heli. Keeps my batteries in there, the heli, spare parts, lots of room for your charger, different things. Must have, if you ask me. It just keeps the heli safe when you're transporting it. You don't have to worry about that cardboard box getting crushed by something else that might be in your car or what have you.